going to get started. My name is Dawn Abear, and I'm with Voters East of the Industrial Canal, and thank you so much for agreeing to participate in this forum. So just going to get started. I would like for you to give us your full name, your profession, how many years you have been in that profession, and what seat you are seeking. And we'll go with Dennis Moore, please.
Good evening. Thanks for first inviting me to meet with you guys tonight. My name is Dennis Wayne Moore. That's what the W stands for. I actually have been practicing law for about 23 years. I actually graduated from Grambling State University with my undergraduate degree in computer science. I have a master's degree in a software engineer. I did that for about 8 years and decided that that was not my calling. I decided to come back to Louisiana and go to Tulane Law School, where I got my JD in 1997. I started practicing law in 1998 as first as a law clerk for Judge Roland Belson, and then with the Public Defender's Office, and also opened my own private practice. For the 23 years, I have been doing criminal and civil defense, and that's my passion.
Okay, Judge White.
Hi, good evening. I know it's been a long evening. Thanks for having us. I became a lawyer in 1987, and I've been a lawyer since then. I was a prosecutor in East Baton Rouge and also in Orleans, and I was a criminal defense attorney running my own law firm for about 15 years before I was elected to Section A 13 years ago. That's the seat that I'm seeking re-election to.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So I would like to introduce our moderators. We have Donna Glapion and Brandon Gilmore, who is with You're Going to Feel Me podcast. So let's get started.
Good night to both of you. My first question would be for Judge White. Ms. White, why do you think you should continue to serve as judge?
Well, because I have served with distinction in the last 13 years. I started the re-entry program with Judge Hunter, and we've been nationally recognized because re-entry is now all over the state, and we've been recognized by the American Bar Association as being really the first time that judges are working with a prison for rehabilitation. I now have a $1.7 million grant for New Orleans and for our program to help heroin abusers so that they can get treatment going into the jail and also coming back out of the jail. I'm efficient, I'm independent. You may have read articles that Leon Canizero and I didn't always get along because I'm gonna do it the way the law tells me to do it and the way I see it, and that's why I was elected. I'm looking forward to working with a more progressive district attorney so that we can hopefully not have multiple bills. And the rehabilitation program that I have started, I hope to expand it because I use lifers out at Angola State Penitentiary, and I'm hoping that some of those lifers will be able to be pardoned for their long service and assistance in this program. I also have one of the lowest dockets at the courthouse. It started out at 400 plus cases, and now it's down to 65. And I did that through hard work, not through the district attorney just removing them for me.
Thank you, Ms. White. Mr. Moore.
Yes.
My question is for you. Do you have any experience in criminal court, and why do you think there should be a change in this division of criminal court?
Okay. Yes, I have 23 years in criminal court. I've actually started out at, before they now call it it was OIDP. As a public defender, I started out there in 1999. Actually, and I actually worked for them for about 5 years. I also opened my own criminal practice, which started in like 2000. So I've actually participated and actually have worked as a criminal defense attorney for about 23 years. Part of the last 10 years, I've actually been a staff attorney for the Capital Defense Project, where I was dealing with capital cases, first degree murder cases, of one that I just ended back in November of last year. So I have the experience not only practicing before Orleans Parish, I've actually practiced on several different courts around the state. The reason why I'm running, and I think that's necessary, is we need to actually make a change. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over and think that it's going to change. While the process of the reentry program, I give it kudos. That's a great program, but that's only one program. We need to do other things to actually deal with recidivism and in the court system. And I believe I bring that along with my previous career as a software engineer to bring technology.
Whoops, technology.
You got a bad connection, I think. Mr. Moore?
I think we lost him. Let's give him a minute.
Into the system. We need to bring that are using technology in the system. That's not going on. Now, there may be different things that they're trying, but I haven't seen it. And I practice there every day or every month. So I see that there's things that we need to do to stop the recidivism rate. We need to look at not only the violent criminals and trying to get them back into the system. We also need to look at the non-violent crimes. One of the things I think we need to do is before you actually accept a plea deal, you need to have pre-sentence investigation so you can find out everything that's going on in that individual's case before you actually say they go to jail or they don't go to jail. Those are just a few things that I have as part of my platform that I think that will bring Section A to another level.
Thank you, sir, for that. My next question would be for Ms. White. Well, actually, two questions, Ms. White. Do you believe you have exhibited judicial temperament in your tenure as judge? And my next question would be, why do you believe you're receiving opposition?
Well, I think I'm getting opposition because Dennis, who I've always considered to be a friend, didn't want to wait till I left. And I think he's ready for the seat. And I think there's probably some political shenanigans behind it as well. And then it's probably payback for my independence. And my independence is I'm not controlled by anyone. And I think that's what a judge should do. And my judicial temperament, that's the first part of your question. I have been on the bench now 13 years. And when I had a docket of 400 cases, we would set anywhere from 40 to 60 cases per day. And every one of those cases were handled by the judge, which would be me. And being a criminal court judge is not an easy job because not only are you dealing with the sadness of the victims, but the sadness of sentencing and the sadness of the family and the human condition. So the fact that I think the district attorney, Leon Canizero, who was not my friend and I was not considered one of his people, worked very hard at trying to say that anytime I didn't agree with him, that I had either bad judicial temperament. And basically, I think it's another way for a politician and a male politician in particular to basically call a woman the B word. That's his way of saying it without saying it. And my judicial temperament, I'm slow to anger, I'm compassionate, I'm empathetic. I give harsh sentences to violent offenders, but I control my courtroom and I make sure that everyone is respectful. I hold the lawyers accountable and I make sure that they're prepared. I hold the witnesses and the police officers accountable and make sure that they've read their police report before they start testifying. I've stopped my court many days and said, we're not going to go further, officer, unless you've read your police report. If they tell me they haven't read it, then I step off the bench to allow them an opportunity to read a police report. Now, if someone thinks that that's poor judicial temperament, then they need to take the job.
Thank you so much, Ms. White. And my last question will be for you, Mr. Moore.
Mm-hmm.
We would like to know, why are you seeking to unseat Mrs. White? And if elected, would you play political games and go and agree with anything the district attorney says, or would you basically have your own mind when it comes to sentencing and listening to cases?
Okay. Let's deal with the first issue that you asked. Why am I running for this seat? I do consider Judge White a friend. When I actually decided to run, and first let me also say this, it's not no political payback, it's not no game. Me and Judge White actually spoke. It was my understanding that she was not going to run. When she said she wasn't going to run, I set my team to say I'm going to run. Once I found out that she indeed was going to run, at that point, I'd already made commitments for myself and going forward. And also I had my platform that I think that is better for the court. So that's the reason why I'm running. I'm running because I think I am uniquely qualified, not to just come in and stay the same, but actually go better to actually build on what Judge White has started. There's many things that needs to be done in criminal district court. We can easily say, well, one section has reduced their caseload to 85, but there are 12 different divisions, not including the magistrate court, that actually have cases. When you hear problems about criminal district court, you don't hear it says section A by itself. They say criminal district court. So if you have a division that has 400 or 500 cases, they don't say it's Judge White. They don't say that it's another judge. They say criminal district court. I believe that it's a time as judge and as jurists, we have to work together as a team. It's great to actually get your section to one level, but you have to bring everybody else along. We need to bring the system to fruition where it's the whole court. Now, and can you say again, what was the second part of your question?
If elected, would you go with your own mind, or would you always be in agreement with whoever the district attorney would be?
I have a problem with a lot of the DAs that we've had. So the answer is no, I'm not going to play political games. I'm not going to play political games with people's lives just to say that a DA not going to be angry with me. If I was doing that, I wouldn't be a defense attorney. My thing is I will go with my own mind. I believe that in looking at each and every case, you have individuals that get stuck in the criminal justice system. And when they get stuck in the criminal justice system, generally it's only the judge that can move the situation where the person gets true justice. I'm gonna make this one statement dealing with one case. I had a case, and it so happened it was not in Orleans Parish, where an individual got stuck in a situation where he was charged with a felony situation. He was going to court so often that he finally said, look, I can't get a job because I keep going to court. To the point that this man that actually had a bachelor's degree was getting ready to plead to a felony. It was a judge that looked through that and then finally asked her, and during the bar organization, asked like, how far did you go through school? He said, I graduated from college. That judge stopped the plea agreement then and directed the DA's office and said, why would you want to give this man a felony conviction? He happened to be an African American. They said, oh, the company wanted it. This judge actually stopped and said, when does it say that the DA follows the direction of a company? And force them to actually go and get basically reduce it to a misdemeanor. That's what a judge and a jurist should do. That's what I would do. That's the reason why I'm running for this position.
Thank you, Mr. Moore, for answering those questions. And thank you, Ms. White. I'm about to turn it over to Ms. Glapion. She has a few questions.
Thank you.
Thank you both for being with us tonight. I have a few questions that will be directed at both of you, and we would ask that Ms. White, you would answer, and then Mr. Moore in that order. And the first question is, what is your opinion reference to the Black Lives Matter movement?
My opinion is that it's been a long time coming, and it's here. And I love the fact that a lot of white people are involved, and it's showing that education and change in our community has taken to the streets and to new levels and to different socioeconomic groups. I've been very satisfied to see all the different people that are enjoying this newfound education. And I think, you know, when you've been in the criminal justice system, especially in dealing with people's lives, Black Lives Matter in my world since I first became a lawyer. So the fact that now everybody is getting it and learning about police brutality and about wrongful convictions and changing everybody's idea, I think it's going to make huge differences all over the country.
Thank you. Mr. Moore?
I agree that Black Lives Matter. And I think that it's long past due that it actually have come to the forefront. As Judge White stated, and I agree, that it actually pleases my heart to see that now you have more white, Latino, and everyone else actually joining into Black Lives Matter. On a personal note, I know how it is to go out on the street if I didn't have on a suit, and sometimes when I had on a suit, to get profiled, to get stopped, to have guns pulled on you. Just because what? I'm a Black man. It's happened to me. I'm hoping and praying that as we go through this, that our state, our country, and everybody actually start dealing with the issue of systemic racism and come together and finally put it to rest. Because our country will never be able to go forward if we keep trying to push it to the side or try to make our people go in one camp or the other camp. But for Black Lives Matter, I think that this situation would be much worse. So I'm in agreement, 100% agreement of Black Lives Matter.
Thank you, sir. Next question. Because state laws vary so widely, what is your opinion regarding having federally regulated, federal regulations regarding statutes such as stand your ground and no-knock warrants, as opposed to all of the varying standards by different states? Do you have an opinion about having federal regulations in that regard?
You want me to go first?
You may.
Okay. I believe that you should abolish a no-knock warrant. I don't think that they are necessary. When you have no-knock warrants, that allows people who say that they have different information that will allow them to go into a person's home. And actually, in this case, we've seen, I think that's in Kentucky, where the young lady was murdered in her own house. I believe that you shouldn't have not only a federal no-knock warrant, you shouldn't have it statewide. I think like that's just give people who want to cause havoc the right and under the color of the law to actually violate people's constitutional rights. I believe that there have been laws already set up. If a person needs to go and get a subpoena, to go to a judge and ask to be allowed to go and execute a search warrant, they should be allowed to do that, but not a no-knock warrant.
Thank you, sir. Ms.
You know, Louisiana Constitution provides more rights to a citizen than the national Constitution. And as long as our Constitution in Louisiana is the Constitution of our people and our voters and the people that elect me, then I can follow the Louisiana Constitution. And I like the fact that while we have a national government and a federal constitution, each state has their own separate constitution. And under Louisiana's constitution, an individual has more rights than they would have under a federal constitution. I personally like the fact that across this country, I would not want to be put under a federal constitution and one set of rules. And I think that's what's made this country great, because the voters of each state can make that decision. And I'm glad I live in a state that provides more rights than our national constitution.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'm sorry, technical difficulties. The next question is in regard to criminal and prison reforms, what have you done to if anything, to influence any policy changes?
Shall I go first?
Yes, ma'am, please.
I had reentry developed and enacted as law. I am also the governor's chair. I was appointed by Governor John Bel Edwards as the chair of the Louisiana Sentencing Commission. I am working on enacting changes in sentencing so that we can have truth in sentencing. I'm working with district attorneys, prosecutors, juvenile, adult, from all different groups. And what we're trying to establish and get the legislature to adopt is that when I, as a judge, sentence someone to say 30 years, does that mean 30 years? Or does it mean it's different because of the date of the sentence? Or does it mean that it's different based on whether it's a crime of violence or whether this person has 2 prior felonies? So we're trying to get truth in sentencing to be something that is more uniform so that the public, including a victim, a defendant, the defense lawyer standing in front of me, when a defendant looks at me and says, "Judge, if I plead to this, how much time will I really do?" And by law, I can't really tell him that. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's how anybody should run this system. And I'm hoping that we can make those changes in the next few years.
Thank you.
Oh, and another law I changed, if may I add this? I'll
Mhm.
be quick. The NOPD changed their policy on taking bicycles into custody when an individual is arrested on a bicycle, because once they took them into custody, the NOPD had 1,200 bicycles that were taking up very important evidence space in the evidence rooms. And I got all 1,200 bicycles released, and I had those taken out to Angola State Penitentiary. And once they were refurbished, we gave them away through ceasefire and a legal end of court to local children for Christmas gifts for 3 years in a row, all because we changed a policy.
And could you just repeat the question again? Just for me, real quick.
Absolutely. In regards to criminal and prison reforms,
Mhm.
what have you done to influence any, if anything, policy changes?
As far as influence policy changes, the main thing that I've been doing is I've been a fighter in court and arguing and piecemeal as far as going from court to court, arguing. The process is draconian as far as what they're doing, because although they have the sentencing that they have set, judges do have leeway to actually give a lesser sentence, as long as it's not against the law. So that's where I actually have been doing a lot of my arguing. As far as going to the legislature or anything, no. I actually have been a foot soldier in dealing with criminal defense of my clients. So I've been doing it more on a person-to-person basis.
Thank you. Last question for both of you. With the pandemic and rising unemployment, mental health is an increasing problem in our community. Can you tell me, as a judge, how does that affect how you currently or would consider mental health as you work to reduce domestic and violent crime situations?
And dealing with should I go first or should Judge White go first?
You may.
Okay. That is a big issue that is going on, and it actually was big before the pandemic hit, but it's actually has exploded since the pandemic started. I believe that any person that actually is arrested, and you're talking about domestic abuse, and that's one of the big issues that we have, they should be, or if it's a policy where we can have them be tested to see what's going on with them. So we don't just say, okay, this person just flew off the handle and abused their spouse. While I think everything should be done to protect the victims, I believe as far as the accuser should actually be tested to find out what's going on, so we can have a full overview of what's going on with them. And that's not only in domestic violence. I believe we all understand, since the pandemic, and especially since they actually released or lifted some of the restrictions, it seems like gun violence has actually exploded across this state. So I believe that's, for a long time, we've actually paid lip service to dealing with people who have mental issues. I think that needs to be brought in so we can actually get a full view of what's going on before you can go forward as far as setting bonds, as far as doing different things as far as seeing that case to a conclusion.
Thank you, sir. Judge White.
I do not think that the mentally ill should be incarcerated for their mental illness. And I make sure that we get treatment every time we can and as much as we can. Right now, because of the pandemic, there are people that are sitting in the Orleans Parish Jail that I cannot get transferred out to the mental hospital. But I have been in touch with the jail medical director, and we've been trying to get medical medication to the 2 people that they were determined to be incompetent to proceed and they needed to go to the hospital. So I've been making sure that they're getting medication while sitting in the Orleans Parish Jail, since the hospital is not allowing for any transports at this time. Additionally, I have worked to have the district attorney's office dismiss the cases in which any individual that is determined to be incompetent to proceed and under the Bennett criteria does not understand right from wrong, then those charges should be dismissed after a certain length of time. But because this district attorney has not allowed that, I've continued to monitor those people and make sure that they're continuing to get medication and regular services, and they come and meet with me at court on a 6-month basis on every single case. And it's interesting because to have a judge or someone in authority that's going to be interested and know what's going on, or to know that this guy Joe works at the Waffle House and, you know, I keep up with his life. It's interesting how they will respond and be more medication compliant. The majority of the cases that come in front of me on a domestic situation, when I see the individual, sometimes the defense lawyer or the public defender has not seen their client for more than 10 or 15 minutes. Because of my experience in doing this for 30 years, I will make a motion on my own and say this person needs to have a mental competency, because I want to make sure people are getting medication that are in need of medication in jail, because it reduces the violence in the jail from these individuals, and I don't want to release them back to someone that they might harm. So you have to have a judge that's alert and expert and wary of these scenarios, because I never want them to be back and return to a family scenario and harm someone because we all missed it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you both. Dawn, that's all the questions that I have this evening.
Okay, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I want to thank the
Thank you.
moderators. I want to
Thank you.
thank the candidates. I wish you the best of luck, and thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you.
you.